The cold never bothered Vielle Lyra. Her skin, made of glowing crystal, shimmered even in the darkest corners of the frozen moon. She sat alone, watching the sky through a broken window. Outside, snow and ash fell like slow rain. Nothing moved. Nothing lived. She was the last of the Alari. Her people were once a proud race shining like stars across the galaxy. They sang to the light and spoke in colors. But then came the war. The Zarketh, a race that fed on energy and destruction, came with fire and silence. They burned Ilari cities, shattered their crystal towers, and silenced their songs forever. Vielle Lyra had survived. Not by choice, by accident. She was on a science post on Sarinth, the ice moon, when the war reached its end. The moon was far and quiet, so the enemy never bothered to check it. She waited. Days turned into years. Years became centuries. She kept the beacon running, an old Alari device that sent a pulse through space. Maybe someone would hear it. Maybe another Alari ship would answer. But no one came. Today, the beacon flickered. Vielle Lyra placed her hands on the crystal core. It was dying. Just like her. She could feel her energy fading. Her body, once bright like a star, now pulsed dimly. She sat down beside the beacon and rested her head against the wall. She wasn't afraid. She was just tired. She closed her eyes. Then, thump. Sound echoed through the station. Vielle Lyra opened her eyes, unsure if it was real. Another thump, this time closer. She stood, slowly, carefully. Her steps made soft chimes on the metal floor. The sound came again. Thump, thump, and then a deep, metallic creak. She looked through the cracked window. At first she saw nothing. Then a shape moved. Through the snow. A ship, small, strange, covered in frost and dust. It looked old, broken. The ship landed with a slow hiss of steam. A door opened. A figure stepped out, tall, wearing a bulky suit, the face hidden behind a glass helmet. Vielle Lyra held her breath. She didn't move. The figure took slow steps, boots sinking into the soft ice. She stepped outside. The cold air didn't bother her, but the wind pushed her back. She raised a hand, glowing faintly in the gray light. The figure stopped. He looked at her. Silence passed. Then the voice came through a small speaker. It was deep, rough, but not unkind. Hello? Vielle Lyra blinked. The word was strange, harsh, but she understood it. A little. It had been a long time since she heard another voice. Who? Are you? She asked. Her words were soft and musical. The figure tilted his head. Name's Elias Rain, human. I found your signal. Human. She had read about them long ago. A new race. Small, fierce, curious. Her people thought they were wild but full of potential. But that was so long ago. You came for the signal? She asked. Elias nodded. Didn't expect to find anyone alive. Vielle Lyra smiled. Just barely. No one is. Only me. Elias stepped closer. He looked around. This place, it's falling apart. Yes, she said. Like me. There was silence again. Then Elias took off one glove and reached out slowly. Vielle Lyra looked at his hand. It was warm, rough, full of life. She had not felt another's touch in 100 years. She touched his hand with her fingers. And for a moment, a soft glow passed between them. You're cold, Elias said. You're warm, she replied. He looked into her eyes. You were ready to die? Vielle Lyra didn't answer. She didn't need to. Elias stepped forward and, to her surprise, pulled off his coat. Carefully, gently, he wrapped it around her shoulders. She didn't need it for warmth, but the act made her chest glow brighter. No one dies alone, Elias said. Vielle Lyra felt something in her, an old feeling, long forgotten. Hope. Elias Rain had seen many strange places in his life. Broken space stations, lost colonies, empty ruins floating in space. But nothing felt as quiet and sad as this moon. He looked around the Aleri outpost. The walls were cracked. The machines hummed weakly. Ice covered the corners. The air was thin and cold. But the strangest thing here was the woman standing before him, Val Lyra. She was not like anything he had seen. Her body was made of light and crystal, shaped like a person, but glowing gently, as if holding the last spark of a dying star. Her voice sounded like wind through glass. Her eyes, though, were the most human thing, tired, kind, and full of loneliness. Elias stepped inside the building with her. The old door groaned shut behind them. "I didn't know the Aleri still lived," he said, looking around. "They don't," she replied softly. "Only me." He didn't know what to say. It felt wrong to speak, like talking loudly in a sacred place. Val Lyra led him down a hallway filled with strange lights and broken panels. "You said you followed the signal." Elias nodded. "Picked it up near the edge of Sector 9. Weak, but it had structure. I thought maybe it was a distress call. I almost didn't follow it." "Why did you?" He smiled a little. "I guess I just didn't want to ignore it. No signal should be left unanswered." Val Lyra stopped beside the beacon room. The large crystal inside was cracked. Its light flickered. She touched it gently. "I kept this alive for 200 years, she whispered. "I told myself someone would come." Elias watched her. "And now someone has." Val Lyra turned to him. "You are not what I expected." Elias raised an eyebrow. "Good or bad?" She tilted her head. "Strange, soft, but warm." He laughed lightly. "Most people call humans loud and messy." "I don't mind loud," she said. For a moment the room was quiet again, except for the soft hum of the broken beacon. Elias stepped forward. "This place won't last much longer. The core's fading. You can't stay here." "I have nowhere else," Val Lyra said. "My home is gone. My people are gone. I am the last." He looked at her, the way she stood so still, so quiet. It made something in his chest ache. He couldn't leave her here, not alone. "Then come with me." Val Lyra blinked. "What?" "Come with me," he repeated. "My ship's not fancy, but it works. We can leave this place, find others. There's a whole galaxy out there." Val Lyra looked unsure. "I have not left this moon in centuries." "It's time," Elias said. "You were waiting for someone. Now I'm here." She looked down at her hands. The light was dimmer than before. "What if I can't survive outside?" Elias smiled gently. "Then I'll keep you alive." Her eyes met his. He wasn't a warrior. He wasn't rich or powerful. But there was something in him, strong, steady, kind. She saw it in the way he looked at her, not with fear or curiosity, but with quiet respect. "You would do that?" she asked. "I don't leave people behind," Elias said. "Not ever." She didn't know why, but she believed him. They walked back to the main room. Elias opened his small pack and pulled out a canister of heat gel. He poured some into a broken pipe, warming the area. Val Lyra sat beside him, watching the soft orange glow. "You are very different from the Zarketh," she said. Elias gave a short laugh. "I hope so. Heard stories about them. Nasty creatures, always destroying, never building. They took everything from us," she said quietly. "And still," Elias said, looking at her, "you stayed alive." Val Lyra looked into the firelight. "I was not living. I was only waiting." Elias placed his hand near hers. "Then maybe now you can start living again." Outside, the snow had stopped. The moon was still cold, still broken. But now, inside this small room, two souls sat beside a soft flame. One had waited a long time to die. The other had come without knowing why. Together, they had found something neither expected. A beginning. The Inside of Elias's ship was small but warm. The lights buzzed softly and the hum of the engine filled the silence. It wasn't beautiful like the Alari moon station, but it was alive and moving. Lyra sat on a padded seat near the front of the ship, her eyes wide. Everything around her was strange. The metal walls, the blinking panels, the soft hum of Terran machines. She had not left her moon in over 200 years. Now she was flying through space again. Elias sat in the pilot's chair, checking screens and flipping switches. "Everything's working," he said. "We'll be in orbit around the nearest trade station in about 8 hours. We can refuel, maybe find some proper food. You okay?" Lyra nodded slowly. "It's strange, so fast, so loud." Elias chuckled. "Yeah, humans don't do quiet very well." She looked at him. "Your ship, it feels alive." Elias smiled. "It kind of is. Old model, patched together from 3 different wrecks. But she's been with me a long time. I call her the Wayfarer." Lyra touched the seat beside her, feeling the soft vibrations through her hands. "It feels safe." Elias watched her for a moment. He could see she was still trying to understand what was happening. "You're safe here," he said. "I promise." She gave him a small, glowing smile. Later, while Elias made adjustments in the engine room, Lyra walked through the small ship. She passed strange tools, wires, and old pictures stuck to the wall. In one photo, a younger Elias stood beside an older woman, both smiling, holding a small toolbox. Elias noticed her looking. "That's my mother," he said. "She taught me everything I know about fixing ships." "She looks kind," Lyra said. "She was. She passed away a few years back." He shrugged. "I guess that's why I started traveling, looking for something, or maybe just trying to not sit still." Lyra tilted her head. "You were alone." Elias paused. "Yeah, I guess I was." They stood there for a moment, the quiet between them soft and easy. Then Lyra looked toward a small storage hatch. "I feel something familiar." Elias opened it. Inside was a glowing crystal, one he had taken from the Alari moon before they left. It was shaped like a teardrop and hummed with gentle energy. "That's one of yours," Elias said. "It was next to the beacon. I didn't want to leave it behind." Lyra stepped closer. "It's a memory crystal. It holds voices, moments, pieces of the past." Elias handed it to her. "Can you show me?" Lyra touched the crystal to her chest. Her body glowed a little brighter. Then slowly, a soft light filled the room, and images appeared in the air. Floating shapes. Ilari walking through shining cities, singing with one another, creating structures of light and crystal. Children danced in fields of glass flowers. Then came the shadows. Dark ships in the sky, fire and screams. The cities cracked and shattered. The light went out. Elias watched in silence. When the vision ended, the room was still. Lyra placed the crystal gently on the table. "That was my home. Before everything." Elias looked down. "I'm sorry." She turned to him. "Your people, do they remember everything like this?" Elias smiled sadly. "Not exactly. We write it down, tell stories, but not like that. That was beautiful and painful." She nodded. "Both can live together." He looked at her. "You carry your whole history inside you. Even after all this time, I am my people's last voice," she said softly. "If I forget, then they are truly gone." Elias reached out and gently placed a hand on her shoulder. "Then don't forget. But don't stop living either." Lyra looked at his hand. It was warm and steady. "You're different from the others I've known. The Zarketh, they took. You give." Elias shrugged. "Humans can be rough, but we try. We fall. We get back up." She touched the crystal again, Maybe. Your people and mine are not so different. He smiled. Maybe not. They stood in the soft light of the ship, surrounded by memory and hope. Two beings from different worlds, both searching for something more. And now together, they had taken the first step. The Wayfarer floated gently in the dark sea of stars. Inside the ship, the air was calm, warm, and filled with soft sounds of humming machines. Elias sat cross-legged on the floor, a half-open panel in front of him. Sparks danced as he fixed a loose wire. Vale Lyra watched him from across the room. She had never seen anyone like Elias. He didn't shine like the Alari. His body was not made of crystal or light, but something about him glowed differently. His heart, his actions. She could feel it, like a soft heat in the cold dark. "You repair your ship with such care," she said. Elias wiped sweat from his brow. "Yeah, she's my home. My friend, really. If she breaks, I'm in trouble." "Your hands are skilled," she said, like an artist shaping light. Elias smiled at that. "Never thought of myself that way. Mostly I just try not to blow anything up." Viola Lyra stepped closer and knelt beside him. "We Alari shape the world with songs. You shape it with fire and metal." Elias looked at her, surprised by the softness in her voice. "You make it sound better than it is. I think it's beautiful," she said. He handed her a small tool. "Want to help?" She looked at the tool, then at him. "I don't know how." "First time for everything," he said, guiding her hand. Together they placed the wire into the slot. The panel lit up with a soft green light. Vale Lyra blinked. It worked. Elias gave her a grin. "Told you. You're a natural." They both laughed, soft, genuine, easy. Later that evening they sat at the back of the ship near the window that showed the endless stars. Elias opened a small metal box and pulled out a few items. "What is that?" she asked. "Something I carry with me," he replied. Inside the box were three things: a broken watch, a folded paper with drawings, and a burned patch of cloth. He held up the watch. "My dad's. It stopped ticking when I was a kid, but I still carry it." Then he opened the paper. It showed a child's drawing. 3 people standing in front of a ship. "My little sister drew this before she left for a colony mission. Haven't seen her in years." And finally he lifted the cloth. A flag. From Earth's last great battle. We almost lost everything, but we didn't. Vale Lyra stared at the objects. So simple, yet filled with memory. "Yeah," Elias said. "We don't have crystals like yours, but we remember in other ways." She reached into her robe and pulled out a small, glowing shard. It pulsed like a heartbeat. "This crystal holds the memory of my people's last song. Would you like to hear it?" Elias nodded. Vale Lyra placed the shard between them. Light filled the room. A melody began to play, soft, bright, filled with voices and echoes of joy and sorrow. It was not just music. It was feeling. Elias closed his eyes. He could see what she saw: children running under glowing trees, artists painting the sky with light, families holding hands as the stars faded. When it ended, the silence felt full, not empty. "That," Elias whispered, "was the most beautiful thing I've ever heard." Vale Lyra looked down at the shard. "It was our goodbye. The last gift of a dying people." Elias gently reached out and touched her hand. "Then let's make sure it's not forgotten." She looked at him, her voice soft. "Why do you care so much?" He paused. "Because I know what it feels like to lose everything, but I also know what it means to start again." Vale Lyra was quiet for a long moment. Then she asked, "Will your people accept someone like me?" Elias smiled. "Humans are strange. We fight, we fall, but we always stand up again. If they see what I see in you, they'll welcome you." She leaned her head back, looking at the stars. "Then maybe I can still belong somewhere. You already do, he said. For the first time in centuries, Viola felt something deep inside her begin to bloom. A quiet warmth that reached her core. Not energy, not light. Hope. The stars outside the Wayfarer blinked softly as the ship moved through open space. Viola stood near the window, her crystal form glowing gently in the dark. She had started to feel safe with Elias, safe enough to hope, safe enough to dream again. But peace never lasts forever. A sharp alarm broke the quiet. Elias ran to the control panel and checked the blinking lights. His face grew serious. "What is it?" Viola asked. Elias's voice was calm but tense. "Unidentified ship on long-range scan. It's not from any known human system." Viola's glow dimmed. "Can you show me?" Elias nodded and pressed a few buttons. A small hologram appeared in the air, showing the shape of the ship. It was sleek, dark, and sharp, like a blade made for cutting through stars. Viola stepped back. "That is a Zarketh scout drone." Elias turned to her. "Are you sure?" She nodded slowly. "I would never forget the shape. That kind of ship destroyed my home." Elias frowned. "They must have picked up the beacon's last signal. They followed it here." He looked out at the stars. "If they're just scouting, we have time. But if they send a message back, more will come, bigger ones." Viola's voice was quiet. "They will not stop until everything is gone." Elias tapped his fingers against the panel, thinking fast. "Then we can't let them send a signal. We have to stop it." Viola blinked. "You would fight them? For me?" He looked at her seriously. "Not just for you, for what you stand for what was lost. And because someone has to stand up to them." Viola was silent for a long time. Then she said, "There may be something we can do." Deep inside the Wayfarer, there was a small room filled with Ilari memory crystals. They had taken them from the ruins of the outpost. Many were cracked or dim, but one glowed brighter than the rest. "This is a defense crystal," Viola explained. "It was used to protect our cities. It connects with Ilari mines and becomes a shield or a weapon, depending on the need." Elias raised an eyebrow. "Sounds powerful." "It is," she said. "But it is dangerous for one who is alone. It draws strength from connection, from shared life. I have not used it in centuries." He looked at her. "What if I stay connected? With you? Share my energy, my focus?" Viola looked unsure. "You are not Ilari." "But I'm human," Elias said, placing his hand on the crystal. "And we're pretty stubborn." She hesitated, then placed her hand on top of his. The crystal began to glow brighter. When the Zarketh drone approached, the Wayfarer powered down its main lights and drifted silently in space. Elias and Viola stood in the center of the ship, surrounded by thin lines of light now glowing from the defense crystal. The drone drew closer. Its scanners moved like red eyes over the surface of the ship. A sharp hum filled the air. Then, without warning, it fired a pulse toward the Wayfarer. But before the blast could hit, a shimmering shield appeared, made of light and sound, shaped by the crystal and Viola's will. The blast bounced off, harmless. Elias grinned. It worked. But the drone didn't stop. It fired again, faster this time. Viola closed her eyes. "I need more strength." Elias held her hand tightly. "Take mine." The crystal's light changed color. Viola's body glowed brighter. The energy wrapped around the ship like armor. When the next blast came, it didn't just bounce, it reflected, striking the drone and damaging its wing. The drone wobbled. Sparks flew from its side. "It's trying to escape," Elias said. "It'll send a message. We must stop it." "Now," Viola said. She raised both hands and the crystal flared like a star. A beam of pure light shot forward, hitting the drone in its center. It broke apart silently, pieces floating in the dark. Then the light faded. Viola fell forward, weak. Elias caught her in his arms before she hit the floor. Hey, stay with me. Her voice was faint. I used too much, but we did it. We stopped it. You did, Elias whispered. You were amazing. She looked up at him, her glow weak but steady. You gave me your strength. He smiled softly. And I'd do it again. The danger was over, for now. The drone was gone. The message never sent. But Elias and Vial Lyra both knew this was only the beginning. More might come. But for the first time, Vial Lyra wasn't afraid. Because when she was falling, Elias caught her. When she was weak, he stood beside her. She was no longer alone. The wayfarer returned to the ice moon where it all began. Elias guided the ship through the thin clouds, landing it gently near the old Alari outpost. The snow had covered many of the ruins, but the beacon tower still stood quiet and cracked. It looked smaller now, less like a grave and more like a memory. Vial Lyra stepped out of the ship slowly. Her body still shimmered weakly from the battle with the Zarketh drone. She walked carefully, her feet pressing soft glowing prints into the snow. Elias followed close behind. Are you sure this is where we need to be? She nodded. The last power crystal is here. The strongest one. My people hid it deep beneath the moon's surface under the main chamber. It was meant to awaken only in our final hour. Well, Elias said, looking around. This feels like that kind of hour. They entered the old station together. The lights were dim and the walls cracked more than before. Still, something inside had changed. There was a sense of purpose now. Not just survival, but protection. Vial Lyra led him through a hidden door at the back of the chamber. Inside was a narrow tunnel, filled with ice and glowing lines carved into the stone walls. At the end of the tunnel, a great door stood, covered in markings. Vial Lyra placed her hand on it. The door glowed, then slowly opened. Inside, a large crystal pulsed like a living heart. Elias stepped back, eyes wide. That's not just energy. That's alive. Vial Lyra nodded. It holds the last voice of the Alari. If I bond with it, I can protect this moonway, and maybe more. But it will cost me. Elias turned to her. What do you mean? If I give myself to it, she said, I may not come back. My light will become part of the crystal. It will shine, but I will fade. Elias stepped forward quickly. Then we find another way. There is no other way, she said gently. The Zarketh will return. We hurt them. Now they will come in force. This world must be protected. Elias clenched his fists. Not like this, not if it means losing you. Vial Lyra looked at him with soft, glowing eyes. You gave me hope when I had none. You showed me what it means to be alive again. But now I must protect what matters. Elias looked at the glowing crystal, then back at her. Then I'm going with you. Vial Lyra frowned. You cannot bond with the core, you are human. But I can stand with you, he said. I can hold you when you fall. I can share my strength like before. Maybe that's enough. She stared at him, then slowly smiled. You are stubborn. He grinned. I told you. It's a human thing. Together they stepped forward. The large crystal glowed brighter as they approached. Vial Lyra placed both hands on it. Elias placed his hand over hers. The room filled with light. The crystal opened like a flower, wrapping them in soft energy. Vial Lyra's body rose slightly and Elias held onto her hand tightly. He saw visions, Alari cities, songs of light, the sorrow of loss, and the fire of hope. And then he saw Vial Lyra's heart, bright, kind, full of strength. Stay. With me, he whispered. I will try, she replied, her voice inside his mind. The crystal pulsed faster. Energy moved through their bodies, weaving them together for one perfect moment. The room shook. The tunnel outside lit up. The beacon tower came alive once more, brighter than ever before. Above the moon, the stars shimmered, and far away, Zarketh. Ships turned toward the light, drawn like moths to flame. When the light faded, Elias opened his eyes. He was lying on the floor of the crystal chamber. His head hurt, and his body felt heavy. But he was alive. He looked around. Viola, soft glow hovered above the crystal. Slowly her shape appeared, not as bright as before, but still there. "I am here," she said quietly. Elias sat up with a groan. "You didn't fade." She smiled. "You held on to me. Your strength pulled me back." He stood, walked to her, and wrapped his arms around her. She leaned into him. "You're warm," she whispered. "And you're still glowing," he said. They stayed like that for a long moment. Outside, the beacon pulsed across the stars. It was no longer a call for help. It was a warning. The Alari live. The humans stand with them. And this moon will never fall again. The Wayfarer floated gently above Earth, watching the blue planet spin slowly below. The ship had traveled far, from forgotten moons to distant stars. Now it had come home. Inside, Elias stood near the front window, his arms crossed, a thoughtful look on his face. Viola stood beside him, her crystal form glowing softly in the warm light of the sun. Her eyes were wide with wonder. "It's beautiful," she whispered. Elias smiled. "Yeah. She's not perfect, but she's home." Clouds floated over oceans. Cities sparkled below like stars had fallen to the ground. Life moved everywhere. Viola stared for a long moment. "Your people survived much. They built again. I didn't know that was possible." Elias glanced at her. "It's not easy, but humans are good at starting over. We fall, we get up, again and again." She nodded. "Maybe that's what makes you strong." A soft beep came from the ship's console. Elias checked the screen. "We're clear for landing. A research team is waiting for us at the Solis station just outside New Geneva." Viola looked uncertain. "Do they know about me?" "I told them some," Elias said. "Not everything. Just enough to know you're special and not a threat. I hope they understand." Elias touched her hand gently. "If they don't, I'll help them." She smiled. "You always do." The Wayfarer landed smoothly on the station's platform. The door opened with a soft hiss. Elias and Viola stepped out together. A group of humans stood waiting, scientists, explorers, and one government officer. They watched in silence as Viola approached, her body shining softly in the sunlight. One woman stepped forward. She was older with kind eyes. "I'm Dr. Hannah Wells," she said. "Welcome." Viola bowed her head slightly. "I am Viola, last of the Alari. Or, I was." Dr. Wells looked at Elias. "Is it true? Everything you said? The crystals? The memory songs?" Elias nodded. "More than true. She carries her people's voice, and she helped stop a Zarketh scout ship. Alone, we might not have survived." The group began to whisper among themselves. Dr. Wells stepped closer to Viola. "We want to learn, not just from your memories, but from you. Would you be willing to share your knowledge with us?" Viola paused. Then she said, "Yes, but not as a relic, not as something old. I wish to walk with you to help build, not only remember." Dr. Wells nodded. "Then we welcome you." For the first time, Viola felt like she belonged, not as a last light of a dead people, but as someone who had something to offer. Days passed. Then weeks. Viola stayed at the research station while Elias worked with the engineering teams. He helped translate her crystal technology into something humans could understand. Slowly, carefully, together, they built new systems, safer energy grids, memory stones, and even music that could heal. Earth had never seen such light before. Children came to the station to see the Star Woman. They laughed when she made the floor glow under their feet. She told them soft stories from Alari history, stories filled with beauty, love, and hope. She had been ready to die alone on a frozen moon. Now she was alive, fully, truly, and no longer alone. One evening, Elias and Violira stood on a quiet balcony watching the earth below. The stars are quiet tonight, she said. Sometimes they rest, Elias replied. Violira turned to him. I never thought I would feel this way again. What way? Alive. Needed. Home. Elias smiled. You are home. With us. With me. She reached out, placing her glowing hand over his heart. You gave me your strength when I had none. And you gave me something too, Elias said. You reminded me what we're fighting for, why we keep going. They stood in silence side by side, looking into the night. Far beyond them, the beacon on the ice moon still pulsed, a light of warning and of hope. The Zarketh might return, one day, but if they did, they would find something waiting, not just a crystal moon, not just an old race, but humans, and one Alari who had learned what it meant to live again. Together.